Hello everybody. Matthew from therighttrader.com back again with another live stream. Today we're going to be specifically talking about the bank blow up in the stock market. Okay, this has caused repercussions across the board here, across the Dow Jones, S&P 500, and the Nasdaq. We are in the last trading hour here on Friday, and we're going to be talking a little bit about what might happen next week as well. And in the coming weeks as a consequence of that. Okay, there's many stocks that got hit as a result of what happened, which was Silicon Valley Bank actually got shut down by regulators now in biggest bank failure since the global financial crisis in 2008. Okay, and there's more bad news with it. Silicon Valley Bank fails to find buyers as run-on bank outpaced sale process. This has been also causing a ripple effect in the financial market, heading over to other regional banks such as First Republic Bank and even bigger national financial institutions such as Charles Schwab, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, etc., etc. So this has been having a pretty big scare impact on the markets, and of course, directly speaking, even the S&P 500 itself now is going deep red. Okay, we can see here 2 days 4% drop. That's pretty substantial for the S&P 500. And if we look here on FinViz, this is one of the best financial screeners in my opinion, we're going to see that there is a slew of stocks crashing today. Okay, a lot of these are going to be financial bank related stocks. We got PacWest Bancorp, of course, SVB Financial Group, which has been leading this crash, down over 62% in the last 5 days. And they actually froze the stock here, which is always annoying, but there's so much bleeding that they had to do it, right? I mean, we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar company, publicly traded company. This is not some weird crypto that blew up here overnight. Okay, no one saw this coming once again. And the cherry on top of this is not only did we get one bank blow up here, we got two bank blowups in the same week. Okay, so SVB Financial Group, this bank is specifically relating to funding of tech companies and startups. And of course, they had a liquidity issue here, completely blew up. Now we also have Silvergate bank, okay, Silvergate Capital, which is a bank that is specifically involved in the cryptocurrency space. And this one actually blew up a few days before SVB Financial. So there is maybe some backdoor contagion here going around. I mean, this is what happens in these financial systems where they're all closely related. There's a lot of centralization. When one of these banks go under, there's usually, where there's smoke, there's fire. It tends to cause a ripple effect throughout the financial system, throughout other banking rails. And, we got two blowups just this week alone. Okay. Coinbase itself actually getting a pretty strong crash here as a result of this also. But more specifically, this stock, which has been in the headlines for several weeks now. Okay, some people thought it was going to survive, some people didn't. Now, it had a lot of volatility. We crashed. We then got a very sharp bounce of around 30-40%, and then we instantly started crashing again. I think this is it for Silvergate stock. Now, they managed things a little bit better maybe than the rest. Okay, they sort of put the brakes on before things got too bad. I mean, the thing already blew up now, but what I mean by that is they actually voluntarily liquidated. Okay, so they kind of stopped the bleeding where it was, and announced it. They were fairly transparent with the whole thing compared to what I've seen in the past. Obviously, this is coming from crypto where there's not a lot of transparency, but at the end of the day, it blew up, right? There was mismanagement, and this caused cryptos, of course, to crash. Bitcoin and Ethereum both down about 15% here in the last 7 days. They both had a sharp drop of around 4% plus in the last 24 hours. Now, what I am seeing here is we are getting a little bit of a bounce here across the S&P 500, the Nasdaq. We are getting a little bit of a bounce. If I go over to, let's say, the 15-minute chart, you're going to see what I'm talking about. But unfortunately, don't get too excited because we are in still a very sharp downtrend, okay? And even if we break out of the sharper downtrend, guess what? Right after that, we have another downtrend, which is going to be much harder to break out of this one, okay? Arguably, we're not going to break out of this one, and we're going to continue getting a pretty strong breakdown. So be careful out there. Now, please don't be shy to leave comments. This channel is meant for this. We love to take a look at, what you all think. So please share your thoughts in the comment section down below. We have 9 live viewers. Thank you so much for your support, guys. Make sure to, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and also participate in the chat. I want to know your opinions on what's happening specifically with these bank stocks. Okay, you can see here on the heat map, guess what is, of course, the sector that is, getting absolutely destroyed. It is, of course, going to be this financial sector and the bank stock specifically. Okay, you can see them right here, these regional banks. Things like First Republic leading the way, and then we've got some of our specific ones that have really been leading the charge in terms of the destruction, things like Silvergate, SVB, and then a few others like PacWest that have really been getting hit hard here. What's interesting as well on the heat map is this is spreading very quickly to things that are, in my opinion, should not be getting hit as hard, right? So possibly a very strong buying opportunity, but also, a cause for concern, because we need to see when is the bleeding going to stop. Now, this has been spreading over to the capital financial markets as well. Companies like Morgan Stanley, Charles Schwab, Goldman Sachs, all getting kind of wrecked today. Charles Schwab specifically, I don't understand why it's getting hit so hard. I think this one is a strong buying opportunity, not financial advice, but this actually hit my target overnight here. So if we go ahead and look at what's happening, okay, Charles Schwab, gap down, right, crash since then, but there's a few things that are looking a little bit better than some of the other stocks. First off, we already broke out of the short-term downtrend. You saw that even the S&P 500 didn't do that. Charles Schwab did. And if we go ahead and zoom out a little bit here, let's see, I want to go to maybe the 4-hour chart. This will give you a better picture of what's going on. We have hit this very strong support level right here at $60 or so. Okay, in fact, we actually did hit $60. We went even a little bit below that at $58. Now, what's not pretty with that is the fact that we actually put in a lower low compared to this bottom over here. Not something I like to see. With that being said, it looks like we are going to close above that level, which is, at the end of the day, still something that is positive here. I would expect a pretty nice bounce on this one, up to at least above $65, based on what I'm seeing here on the charts. But still, there's a lot of fear here. There's a lot of risk still, especially if you're focusing in on the bank-related stocks, financial-related stocks. But with that being said, that's probably where we're going to see a pretty strong bounce as well. It could take a bit longer than expected, though. Right now, Charles Schwab specifically, yeah, I could see this bouncing up to 65 as soon as Monday, or even early into next week, right? That's a 5-6%, 7% bounce. Could it go higher than that? Absolutely, right? We could bounce quite a bit higher depending on what the general market is going to do and what these bank stocks are going to do. Now, if I look at SVB Financial, right, the stock that has been leading the crash, leading the fear, there's no point in even doing a technical analysis on this one, but I'll just draw some lines just to put things into perspective. Disastrous price action. It had already been showing signs of weakness weeks before, but what we got here was, like I said, we don't really see stocks, big stocks, multi-billion-dollar stocks getting crashes like this, okay? And people are really worried that this is going to continue to happen. This is going to spread across other stocks, and it's going to create an industry-wide panic, which I would say is already happening, right? I mean, if you watch some of my previous videos, guys, I have been saying that major top 10 stocks, things like Apple and Microsoft, could drop between 40 and 60%, okay, in the next year or two. And that is a very big claim, but at the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding. Look at what happened today in the stock market, right? And this is just the tip of the iceberg. And if you don't believe me, just look at what happened with some of these bank stocks a day or two ago compared to today, right? We kept on dropping. Not just for SVB Financial. This one was pretty obvious that it was going to keep crashing, but I'm talking major stocks, okay, getting absolutely destroyed. Not only yesterday and the day before that, but now today as well, right? So we need to see when will the bleeding stop. And I want to thank you all for the live 10 viewers. Make sure to hit that like button. Also, guys, please support the chat. support the channel with a super chat if you want to help support the hard work that I'm doing here for all of you. I want to thank all our regular super chatters like Blue and others. That's a great way to ask me a question. If you have a specific question that you want to give me more time to answer, drop a super chat, or else just drop your thoughts and comments on what you think is happening here in the stock market down in the comment section down below. And also hit that like button if you haven't already. Needless to say that across the board here on Twitter, we have things like Bitcoin, JP Morgan, Coinbase, stock market trash, all trending on Twitter. Okay, so this is a pretty big deal. On stock twits, this is a pretty good gauge to get market sentiment. We got SoFi, UVXY, that is of course volatility, VIX index here, pumping while stocks are crashing. It's of course the inverse effect there that the volatility is going to have. Of course, SIVB, a lot of people are paying attention to these specific industries that are being hit harder than others, but also the general stock market that's crashing, right? SVB Financial Group, you know, disaster. I mean, this is not an actual accurate price chart because I told you that it got halted. When I was looking at it, I think it was at $35 or so. So this thing is done for, right? Like I said, none of this is financial advice. This is my own personal experience based off years of experience. I'm just sharing you what I'm seeing on the charts. Now, it would really help me if you let me know any specific stocks you want me to take a look at, because I can look at the S&P 500. We actually have my bearish price targets here for the months ahead. So support levels at 232, 214, 200, 180, and a peak bottom potential of $150, guys. This is scary stuff, okay? This could mean a 50 to 60% drop. You know, it's happened before, so don't tell me that it hasn't happened, because I showed you all in the past that during these moments where these tech stocks and the stock market goes into these bull markets, we then get about a 50% price crash, okay? It's happened already twice, and we are on the biggest bull market. Listen up, okay? This is almost annoying me. We had the biggest bull run we ever saw in stocks, okay? This was smaller than the bull run that we had during the dot-com bubble, smaller than the one after the 2008 crash. This is something like smaller than the dot-com bubble. And, you know, of course, after seeing the biggest pump that we've ever seen in stocks, don't be surprised if we see the biggest crash we've ever seen on the S&P 500. Could be as much as 70% based on my technical analysis. A more conservative estimate would be around $215, $230 or so, which would be around a 55% crash, okay? Levels that I think are almost guaranteed of being hit, going back to $365 again, and probably going to $300. That's why I expect the S&P 500 to go next. Keep in mind, that's not going to happen overnight. This could take several weeks to happen, but that is where the signs are pointing, okay? Now, with that being said, I want to also point out the fact that if I go over to FinViz here, how have tech stocks been reacting to this drop? I always like to, when I do stock market live streams, I always like to take a look at tech stocks, things like Apple, maybe Alibaba, to get a read on the Chinese stocks. And overall, right, few things to point out. Let's go over to the daily time frame. Apple is in a downtrend. Okay, don't forget that. Now, Apple is one of the strongest stocks in the stock market, but we hit the downtrend line. We actually went a little bit above it. We instantly fell back down. Okay, still been reacting better than other stocks, but this was a pretty big drop even for Apple, right? We're down 4%, very much in line with what the S&P 500 has done. I also want to point out several bearish signs that I'm seeing across the board here. I see a rounded top for Apple, okay? Would expect this one to start heading towards $100. We have an open gap here at $95. I'd say that is a pretty good area to estimate the price to be kind of attracted to like a magnet, because these gaps tend to be magnets for the price, and $95 is where that's at. We also have gaps lower, okay? So there is reason for concern here. $75, even as low as $61, gaps there. Now, I see people leaving the chat when I talk about the bearish perspective here, but guys, a multi-billion-dollar company just blew up. Not that, only that one, Silvergate as well, and you know, expect headwinds here, expect downside price action, okay? Don't just be in fantasy land here where you think we're still in the bull market. That's finished, guys. That's finished. The bull market is gone. So right now we need to be looking as far as what can we expect for the drop. And I'm showing you here for Apple. Keep in mind, Apple is one of the stronger stocks. It's going to take more time to drop. It's going to probably not drop as much as other stocks, right? That's what we can expect with Apple specifically. Now, going over maybe to the Chinese sector, things like Alibaba. Alibaba has been overall showing signs of weakness again, okay? If we look here, we are in a range between the 75 to $120 area. Okay, I'll draw the rectangle here. Now, we bottomed a lot of times around that $75 area, and that acted as strong support. So that is a strong support level. With that being said, we definitely don't want to see it move back below $75. That would be very dangerous. And if we don't bounce at $60, if that happens, then there's no really telling how low Alibaba could go here, because keep in mind, we are already at some of the biggest lows we've ever seen for Alibaba stock. Okay, so drawing in that absolute peak bottom support level that we don't want to go down, because that has been previously our peak bottom 3 times now. It's $60, right? That gives you a read on on these Chinese stocks. I'd say don't necessarily expect them to go crashing down, but at least consolidation for these stocks is expected, right? We did cause an open gap, so I think Alibaba is going to do well long term. I think there is a moment where this is going to recover very nicely, or even hold its current prices, right? And maybe not even drop as much as the US stocks, but I'd say don't expect this one to just go flying either, right? We want to at least see consolidation, and if we do see a little bit more downside, absolutely not drop below $60. Otherwise, disaster. I would get out of all Chinese stocks immediately at that point. I probably wouldn't even take the risk. I mean, if this thing goes below $75, I'd probably be out of any Chinese stocks until we get more clarity on what's going on. As far as other stocks in the financial markets, now let me just go ahead and take a very quick look at gold here. Gold got kind of wrecked in the last few days before this, but now it's getting a bounce. Okay, so there's so much pressure on stocks and traditional finance that gold actually got a bit of a gap and go formation here. Gapped up, now a nice green candle. Could potentially see this one head higher, but I'd say be careful, right? We haven't gotten full confirmation yet. I'd say that gold and silver are probably going to at least hold their prices quite well with what's going on. I wanted to take a look at Barrick Gold stock. This one did get a nice bounce today, but actually ended up still dropping by the end of it. And SLV, silver, silver a little bit weaker than gold. Okay, that's just to give you a rundown of gold and silver. Now, like I said, guys, please let me know other industries or specific stocks you want me to take a look at before I end this live stream. We're not done yet. And we have Tesla, right? Now, Tesla, I did not like Tesla when it was around this $210 area, right? I think it was very top heavy around this area. We got a nice triple top formation there, and swift move back down. We have support here, right? It looks like it doesn't necessarily run a right away drop lower, but guys, this is not the end for Tesla. Okay, I'm telling you right now, this is my personal opinion. I called the Tesla pump when it was only at around, man, I don't even remember. This was Police Brit. I called Tesla becoming a $1 trillion company before it happened. Or I don't know if it even hit $1 trillion in market cap, but what I mean by that is when Tesla was a very low price stock, you can go see the first video on my channel ever. You can go take a look at it. I said that Tesla was going to reach $1,000, right? This was before all the splits, guys, all the splits. Okay, that happened. And now I'm telling you, Tesla is going to get wrecked. Okay, look at what's been happening. We fully confirmed the head and shoulder formation. In fact, we're now seeing the full completion of that coming about. I think this is heading to at least $66 later this year, maybe next year. And, this could really go as low as $30, guys. I am absolutely not bullish on Tesla. This is not the type of stock that I want to be holding in this market environment. We're coming back to the 200-day moving average. I'd expect this to slip below that. And, moving back to the daily chart, could we get a bit of a bounce here? Maybe get consolidated? Yeah, but I don't think any of that matters, because ultimately, whether we do it tomorrow or in 2 weeks' time or in a month's time, we're going to lose support, and we're going to go right back to where our gaps are. $150, $123, and eventually $115, and then we're going to break below $100 and start crashing down to $60, and we could even see that $30 price tag on Tesla stock, guys. This is big stuff, big potential for crash across the board here. And these banks and financial sector pressures are not helping the situation whatsoever, guys, whatsoever. You know, especially when we're dealing with stocks, right? Crypto is one thing. When Bitcoin is having a bad day, you know, this is always to be expected in crypto. But when we're seeing, you know, major companies blowing up, be careful. Okay. Now, with that being said, I don't want to sound overly bearish here and lead people to potentially thinking that tomorrow, for example, or Monday, the next market open, we're going to see these drops continue. We could get bounce, guys. We could get bounce. I'm currently long on back. This is, you know, a very risky play right now, but it is kind of at support here. And, you know, I could see this bouncing pretty sharply, but we need to get confirmation of that because that hasn't happened yet. With that being said, we are on support. We got a doji candlestick here formation. You know, buyers are stepping in. The question is it enough buyers? When we get the bounce, guys, it's going to be a pretty sharp bounce. Now, there's two things to keep in mind, right? There's, let me go back to Charles Schwab stock because I like that perspective here for Charles Schwab stock. There's the bounce, right? And then there's the short-term bounce, right? The strong bounce is going to be the bounce to close the gap here, for example, on these financial stocks, right? We're talking 24% bounce for Schwab, for example. Now, when is that going to happen? That could take weeks to happen, okay? Keep that in mind. Now, with that being said, guys, we could get a shorter-term, you know, relief rally bounce more quickly. So I'm thinking, for example, going up to maybe $65, getting a nice about 10% bounce there for Charles Schwab stock. That can happen in, you know, a matter of a few days, right? So you need to differentiate the two. Now, as far as over here at $43, we do have another gap there that I see for Charles Schwab. I can't make the call that Charles Schwab here, after already dropping over 20% in 3 days, is going to get another massive drop there of about another 29%. Could it happen? Absolutely. Right? There's nothing preventing that from happening. Actually, the only thing preventing that from happening is this little last bit of support we have here. Okay. Not the type of stuff that we want to rely on. Now we had this gap over here, which caused us to fall below $60. Let me see. 58.26 was the high here. And as far as the low that we put in today, 58.28. Okay, so we did close that little gap over there, but like I said, now the question is, can we hold this $60 support level, or will we bust through it and go down to $42? It's a very similar situation for back, where, you know, we have this bit of support here, right? This is pretty clear support, right around this $30 level. The question is, are we going to bust through that and head over and close this gap over here, right? That gap is going to be closed sooner or later. And to be honest, guys, you know, it would make sense that we close this gap sooner rather than later, okay? Especially with what's going on, because we know that we're gonna close this gap, and you know, if we go up and go down and consolidate, you know, we don't know when it's gonna close. Right now, the selling pressure is on, and that means that it's gonna be very easy for us to get a sharp drop, even if it's a pretty big drop on these bigger stocks, to drop another 15, 20%. 25% to close those gaps, guys. It could absolutely happen. Don't think that it can't happen. Now, we might bounce a little bit before then, right? But the question is going to be, is that enough bounce? Is it enough buying pressure to put us back into, like I said, safety? Or is that just a temporarily sort of dead cat bounce before the bigger drop? I think that the latter could be what we might see, unfortunately. Be careful with those smaller finance-related stocks. Things like Coinbase could get wrecked here. Silvergate. Be very careful with those. Actually, I should go over Coinbase stock here. Let me know if there's any other stocks you want me to take a look at, guys. I want to say hi to Blue. I did give you a shout out in both of my live streams today. Blue, thank you so much for that super chat last time. If anybody else wants to drop a super chat to help support the channel, please do, guys. Looking at Coinbase stock, we have a very similar situation. We're right over here at $33. We have an open gap, guys. Open gap on Coinbase stock. And that's not a good thing, especially considering that not only Coinbase is weak, but cryptos are very weak as well right now, okay? We're getting a little bit of a release bounce, which I expected. This is something that I said in my live stream that I literally made 30 minutes ago for crypto. A short relief bounce, but not necessarily the absolute peak bottom here. That's what I'm trying to tell people. And for Coinbase stock specifically, things could be looking a bit uglier, guys, because like I said, this is about our last support level here at $50. After that, I expect a flush all the way down to $35. Could that happen in a matter of a week? Absolutely. Do I know if these finance stocks are going to crash next week specifically? I can't be certain, but I think it could happen very shortly here, considering the technical setup where we don't have that much room to consolidate on the tech stocks compared to maybe some of the other stocks out there, like the Chinese stocks or maybe even the S&P 500. And we have every chance of busting through our only and single support levels on these finance stocks to go and close those gaps that they all have. These patterns repeat themselves. Many of these stocks are correlated, which is why we're seeing this happen across the board here. With that being said, guys, I'm going to wrap up this video. I made 2 live streams today. Check them out. You can rewatch them. They're going to be re-uploaded right after I end them. And thank you so much for watching. Make sure to drop a super chat, drop a like, drop a comment. Help support the channel, guys. Make sure to go follow me on Twitter for live stock and crypto updates. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all very soon. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for watching.